Well, here we are again, approaching another local election once again, and I feel like a disenfranchised voter as usual. In most races, I have the choice of only which Democrat to vote for. And since none of them ever has an individual idea or thought, it's a matter of which one do I vote for or do I abstain. Now, there is on rare occasion a brave Republican who throws his or her body on the sacrificial fire only to be scorched by the Democratic majority in Allegheny County. And they've been taught from birth to vote for an evil, lousy, miserable Republican. They would be doomed to eternal damnation. Now, despite the problems that have plagued Allegheny County for years, high taxes, a city that's in receivership, a transit system whose union and management have been draining the county's coffers, and the list goes on. Now, the only constant which escapes the logic of the lockstep voters of Allegheny County is continuous union-backed Democratic rule. Now, there is a glimmer of hope this year, though. A couple of Republicans have stepped up and decided to run for office. One is Raja, who's running for county executive, and Bob Howard, who's running for county controller. Bob's opponent, Chelsea Wagner, is a career politician. And I guess she's looking at this controller job as just the next step up the ladder in her political career. And she's basing her hopes on the name recognition of her uncle and the backing of nearly every union in the county. And whereas Bob, on the other hand, has actual experience as a controller. He was a controller for a major corporation, and he really knows something about managing money. I'm sure you'll agree that the choice for county controller is a no-brainer. Bob Howard is just what Allegheny County needs this year. You know, back in the old days, I mean really old days for me, when I was in school, the one nice thing was the teachers that taught classes, most of them were knowledgeable on the subject they taught. Nowadays, it seems like all you have to do is just go to a teacher's college, learn how to teach, and they turn you loose to teach you about anything you want. Now, the same thing goes for politics these days. Now, originally, our founding fathers meant for the average citizen to volunteer and to give his service to his country, and it could he might be a doctor, a lawyer, a farmer, whatever. But nowadays, it seems a student just goes off to a teaching college and learn how to teach, and they turn them loose with a teaching degree to teach whatever they want. One thing missing these days in teaching is the passion of those teachers who studied that subject and loved it and gave unusual insight into the subject they were teaching. I even had a college professor who wrote the book that we studied from. It was history. Now, much of the same thing is going on in politics these days. Now, originally our founding fathers intended for the average citizen to volunteer to serve his country and as a representative. And he might be a farmer, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. But nowadays, there are a lot of offices that actually require more than just what the average guy would know. For instance, right now in Allegheny County, we have a race for a county controller. Now, this is somebody who looks after your money, and it requires, I think, I would imagine, certain skills and knowledge to manage the money. But what we have now going on here is we have a politician, a career politician who's running for county controller. Now her only credentials are, well, actually she doesn't have any credentials for county controller, but she is a politician and she has friends. Like, she's counting on the name recognition of her uncle, and by name, her name is Chelsea Wagner, and the force of the unions, which I think every union in Allegheny County endorses her. And that's pretty much her qualifications. She just looks at it, I guess, as the next step up on her political ladder. And her opponent, Bob Howard, is actually a businessman and was a controller for a large corporation. And so he does know something about handling money. Now, where Bob Howard is counting on his experience in business as a controller, and Chelsea Wagner's counting on her name recognition, the backing of every union in Allegheny County, and the fact that she's a Democrat. And now this is no time for amateurs. With the county's finances in near crisis, it's clear that Bob Howard is the only choice for county controller. Ms. Wagner, as one of your constituents, I want to thank you for your monthly newsletter, informing my family of all the wonderful things you've been doing for us. Actually, I was taught to take care of myself with no help from the government. That way I feel no obligation to give you my vote. Besides, it isn't government's job to give me stuff. My question today concerns your introduction of House Bill 1779, legislation designed to curb the pay-to-play culture in state government. Now, you say that it's clear that big business has bought access to policymakers that the average Pennsylvanian doesn't get. You said a great number of reforms that are critical to Pennsylvania families will simply remain out of reach as long as big money donors can dictate to elected officials. It is interesting to note on your county controller campaign literature that you're endorsed and supported by every labor union in the county. You seem to have forgotten to mention the millions of dollars that they spend to buy your favors. Now let's compare the two. I just have a few notes here. Now, those big businesses are the ones which invest in the communities, provides jobs, paychecks, and benefits to those union members. The unions, on the other hand, reap the benefits of those businesses while constantly doing all they can through work rules, regulations, and wage demands to hinder those businesses from making a profit. I ask you, Ms. Wagner, who makes a greater contribution to the people of Pennsylvania? Just asking. Personally, I think I'll go with what those businesses are buying, okay?